This evening, our special guest is Joel Nelson of Simply Joel. And she's got a lot going on and she's going to tell us all about it. She's the lady who helps her community. She is very involved. So, Joel, I'm going to hand you the mic and tell us all about yourself and what you do.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Jewel Warfield Nelson. I am an allied health specialist, which basically incorporates cosmetology, nursing, and science. I work with people who fail to thrive naturally. Why? Because I was born with allergy asthma, and I had to learn to get in a let's say a homeostasis pattern for myself, especially after turning 18 or 19. My father's insurance stopped carrying me. So I had to find a way to help myself. Um, with that being said, I'm basically integrative therapy, alternative approach, um, and homeopathic modalities.
Thank you so much. So that tells us how you got on your journey. So as an allied health professional, I know you have your own business, and one of the things I know you do is you manufacture your own natural products. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, yes, I started out in cosmetology. I've always had a passion for nursing and taking care of people. Um, so as I went along my journey, I couldn't deal with death and dying. And my mom was a psych nurse. And so I just couldn't figure out what I was doing. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, well, you're special, you're different. So um, just be yourself. And so as I was growing up, we used to go to the park and the guys used to play basketball and I would always braid their hair or do somebody's hair. And then I was always doing my hair, but I was allergic to everything.
Oh,
So
wow.
I couldn't wear makeup. I loved fragrance. My mother, excuse me, used to smell so good. And I was always having an allergic reaction. So I remember one day watching her get ready for an event because they were like socialites, and my dad and my mom was putting on her makeup and I just said, I think I was about 10 or 11, and I said, one day I'm going to have my own cosmetic line and I wanted to create my own fragrance. Well, at that time, I didn't know, but as I went on, I became a cosmetologist. Um, I graduated high school, I think at 17, started taking my prereqs for nursing, but I couldn't deal with death and dying. Ironically, I've never had a patient die on me. So as years went on, I got used to nursing, but I still had a fancy for cosmetics. And so I'm trying to, it's so much because it's so many years that have gone by. But
Yes.
as it turned out, I I went to school for cosmetology. Um, I finished in 9 months and then I started competing and I started doing hair. And, in those, at that time, it was like hair professionals or something like that. And you would go through these tiers. And so I was a top designer, but it wasn't fulfilling. So as it turned out, I started sculpting nails and I met this lady and I've been doing sculpturing nails for years. But once I started sculpturing, I started entering competitions and I placed one year. And that's when I met a chemist That's when I told them that I wanted to um, create my own fragrance. And that's when they said to me, that's not how it's done. The way you have to do it is you have to um, develop a name for yourself, become a household name, and that's how you can create your own fragrance. Well, years went on. I had a nail and so they said, just start, let's just get your a cosmetic line. So that's how I started the cosmetic line. I created a complete cosmetic contemporary line. And what that means is that, it's got chemicals and pesticides and herbicides and all kinds of ingredients except for my skincare line. So I had a skincare line, I had eyeshadow, lipstick, lip liner, eyeliner, brushes, you name it. And then I custom blend foundation. So that was in the 90s. So moving forward, I was I have sisters in Colorado, and my mom always wanted all three of her girls to be together. So we moved to Colorado. I was commuting in 97. I was commuting back and forth to Illinois for 3 years. And finally, I decided to make in 2000 my home in Colorado. I didn't know what to do. I was trying to um, open a business where I just moved to. And I met this guy, and it was four of us, and they embezzled the money. So I never was able to open up a business. So I was
Wow.
like, what the heck am I going to do? And so I told my mom, I've never taken out a loan. I've never taken out a grant. I've always generated my own money for my own business. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I remember sitting on the steps and I said, you know, nursing is my gift. Nursing is my calling, but the cosmetic industry is my passion. So I started teaching in the modeling industry, and I would along the way I would model and stuff like that. I even met someone at the DMV who encouraged me to get into the Mrs. Colorado pageant. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. As it turned out, I was in the Mrs. Colorado pageant. I didn't make the top five, but I was in the top 15. And so I ended up going back to nursing school and I finished nursing school and the school lost their accreditation. They had too many students. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. Now what do I do? And they were like, well, you've got to go back to school. And I'm like, no, ma'am, I'm not doing that. I've completed everything I needed to complete. And they said, well, the only thing you can do is get a degree in science. So I was like, okay. So I was devastated. And my sister said, well, go to the school where I went, which was Metro State. Um, and I went there and they told me, well, you need to go um, see what they can do with all your nursing. So I found out I didn't have to go back to nursing school. I needed to get a minor in science. I needed to get science. So I'm biology major, chemistry emphasis, and I tri-majored actually biochem and Spanish. And so my counselor was also a head of the um, science department, physiology and anatomy. I became her TA and she wanted me to be a PA. And I'm like, no, I'd get fired because I just can't. Um, so I continued on. And as it turned out, um, my minor is how I navigate through the community because although I finished nursing school, I did get my bachelor's in 2 years instead of four. And the state wanted to know how did I do that? And I said, God, because I'm not 20 years old. So I got my bachelor's in 2 years instead of four. I think I stayed and took a couple of classes just because I needed to live. I had to find a way to get a job because I couldn't work while I was in school. I was taking like what 9 to 11 classes every semester, and they're like, "That's unheard of," and I'm
That's
like,
heavy.
"Well, it's heavy, but I don't suggest people do that. I just had a desire to get done because I spent so much time finishing nursing school. And let me tell you, I finished nursing school. Um, and how can I tell you this? You're not going to believe this. I finished nursing school and I got in touch with the Department of Regulations, and we were fighting it. It was a whole class. It wasn't just me, it was a whole class. So we were fighting it. We had to wait 36 months for them to see us. And then finally they said, oh, well, we'll, make accommodations. But the Department of Higher Education wanted to give us like kibbles and bits. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, which is how I ended up saying, what do I need to do? Because I need to keep going. And that's when they said, you need a degree in science. And that's when I completed my degree in 2 years instead of four. And then when I
That's
got
such
back in touch, yeah, with them, they know what I'm doing. And they said to me, well, you can still take your board, but it expires. So if people are looking for my accreditations, they're never going to see it because they had to hand deliver my accreditation. And so they sent me a letter and they said, well, you didn't finish. And I said, yes, I did. I had all my rotations. And in nursing school, you document, document, document. So I had all my documentation, all my notes, all of my sign offs. And they were like, wow, do you know what you just did? And I'm like, no, what? They were like, you just created a lane for yourself. So that's how
that's such an
so they had to,
inspiration. You're
yeah,
such
they
an
had to hand
inspiration.
deliver.
And that's
Thank
what we
you.
talk about here on From Stuck to Limitless. Inspiration, how people can get from being stuck to purpose, to live a purposeful life and be successful. Your story is one of inspiration. How you pivoted when it was time. You didn't let your disappointments keep you down. You kept going. And then you found a way to channel what you learned into the community. So I know you work with like cancer patients and people who fail to thrive in your community. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I work with people who fail to thrive, people that want to make healthy choices, but they plateau, or they may say, well, I know what I'm doing, but then they can't figure out what they really need to do to maintain. Then I was doing a little bit of home health and I get my clients by referral. So I work with Alzheimer patients, people with Parkinson's, um, people, cancer survivors who may be like at a stage 2 or 3, and they want to try something different before they get on chemo or radiation. And so I help them to create a plan naturally. So what that looks like is I look their I collect all their data. I ask as many questions as I can, and then I try to connect to the person physically, psychologically, every element to make the whole body. And so sometimes you feel their pain, and sometimes you can't tell somebody what you're gonna do. You're a doer. So it's just like working in the hospital. You get your client, you assign yourself, you introduce yourself to the client, you take their vitals, and you take a minute, not just to do assessment, but you take a minute to find out where they are mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. So I incorporate all of that into the person, in addition to sometimes they'll say, you take their blood and they don't like to get their blood drawn. And they'll say, and I'll connect with them. I'm like, okay, now we need to get into alignment. So I'm going to have you breathe in and blow it out. And when I go in, I want you to just relax your body. And they're like, nobody's ever told me that before. So that's how I connect with the people. I find out their fears and get them to understand it's okay. I'm here to support you. And another example is, you have some nurses, they just pass out the meds. They'll go look for a CNA to get the patient out of bed. When I was in nursing school, you do total care. So I go in, I say good morning, I do my assessment, I give them a bath, I get them up, I sit them by the window, I turn on music. Whatever I feel, that energy is what I feel. That's how I help them. And they just love the fact that somebody's giving them attention, that they feel the love, and it's authentic. It's not fake. It's not phony. Because when people are sick, they do feel that energy.
Yes, they do. And I'm glad to hear you talk about the mind, spirit, body connection because a lot of people don't even think about if I don't eat well, then it will affect my whole being. If I'm not well mentally, it will affect my body also. So as a coach myself, one of the things I do is make sure I'm doing the mind body spirit connection. Okay, thank you, Jules. That's so great. So I know you talk about healthy eating, taking care of the whole patient. So do you go through dieting with them? Not dieting in the sense of being on a diet, but eating healthy, maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Is that part of what you do with
Yes,
your
yes. So depending on what the person needs, like if I'm doing home health care, I talk to the whole family.
yes,
Um, and they have to be coachable because nobody wants to be making healthy choices and then the rest of their family is eating whatever they want to eat. If they want to do that, that's okay, but they should not be doing it in front of the client. So we have to implement healthy choices. If I'm doing it for the family, I go and I look in the refrigerator, in their cabinets. I'm not saying to throw it away, but I'm telling them the things that they can give to the client who's really making healthy choices. If you are a person who has no medical issues, then we do it a different way. We talk about where they are mentally, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, because most people, if they are morbidly obese, there's an issue. It's not because they just like to eat. It's because they've got something going on up here that they can't get or that they need to work on. So we go deep, and when you go deep, that person purge, they get rid of insecurity or they face their fear. And then we talk about what the food does. Like if you're eating, say you're 200 pounds and you want to get to 150, but you're at 100 and maybe you're at 170 and you plateau. And so we start talking about the foods like an apple. An apple can help you get back on track because you plateau, and that helps to get your metabolism going again. So we talk about different foods, we talk about allergies, we talk about what they like, what they don't like, but most importantly, it's the mindset. And once we get through that, just like fasting and praying, you detox and the toxins come out of your body and you get emotional. And then you can start healing. And then we start working on the other items.
What do you mean by an apple? I don't want your listeners to think you mean like an apple for a meal. So can you elaborate a
Yeah,
little
an
bit more on
apple.
that? For a
Yeah,
meal?
not for a meal,
Yeah,
but
that's what I want. Yeah, not for a meal. Yes. I don't want people
yeah,
listening to
not
think you meant that. Yes. So
no, an
elaborate a little bit
apple.
on that. Yes.
Okay, so say I give you a meal plan, and let's just say it depends on if you're diabetic or if you have high blood pressure, that's a different meal plan. If you're a person that just wants to make healthy choices, that's another meal plan. But when you get on your journey, say you're on your journey and you're at 200 and you want to be at 150, you still have your meal plan, but an apple, at least an apple a day for a week, will help your body to restart and rejuvenate, and your electrolytes and your metabolism resets itself. So when people want to, and oh, I know what, let's put it this way. When I help people, I help them to understand the not only foods that they need to consume, but the facts, the features, the benefit. Like you can eat an apple and you need to know the benefit of an apple. You can eat, spinach and you need to understand the benefit of spinach. But if you are on a blood thinner, you can't do spinach because of the vitamin K. So these are the things I help people to understand, but for their body, not for somebody else, but for them, what's going on with them.
So each plan is customized to the client. So it's not
Right.
like a one fit all.
No, it can't be because
Yes.
we all have our body chemistry is different, our blood levels are different. Your doctor may say okay, say if you went to the doctors, you got a physical and they checked your vitamin D. Well, vitamin D range is from 90 to 120. Maybe your vitamin D is okay at 90, but my vitamin D needs to be at 110 for me to be my best self. So see, I help people. Yeah, you can go to the doctor and get a physical, and your doctor say, "Oh, you're within normal range." I take it deeper. I go beyond that because in order for us to be our best self, we can be in normal range, but we don't feel good. We're not able to
Exactly.
execute. And that's what I help with.
Yeah. So you and I may have the same meal. It does different for me than it does for you. So customize.
Right.
Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. How do you feel about supplementation to augment? Say someone is living a healthy lifestyle and need to take extra supplements to augment whether they're physical or whether their activity or diet. Do you support taking supplements and what would you recommend?
I don't do supplements. I'm not knocking it. But
Mhm.
when I tell you, we have everything on God's green earth to sustain us all. If somebody wants to get biblical, Genesis 1:11 talks about the natural herbs that we
Talk to me,
have
sister.
on earth. Huh?
I said, talk to me, sister. Preach.
My thing is we've all been churched,
Mhm.
you know, but are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? I don't want to knock on any, I don't want to ruffle too many feathers, but I'm just about righteousness. Because if we are doing what the word says, and if we read and know that there's herbs, for example, um, we all eat and we all cook. And if you want to make spaghetti, you use oregano, you use different spices. That's medicinal. So
Yes.
I help people to figure out how much you should put in your body. Because see, when you do things naturally, it's not like you're going to the doctor and you're getting a medication and it starts working right away. When you
Right.
do things naturally, it can take 2 weeks or it can take up to a year to balance out your body.
Right.
So it's already here on earth. If we just listen to ourselves or if we start paying attention to the herbs that we need in our body. Even scripture says, whatever you do in moderation.
Yes.
But we have to start listening to our bodies. That's the energy that I help people with. There's no book can tell people how to do that. It's energy begets energy. And then you help them along the way.
Yes. And they need to know it's a lifestyle. It's not going to happen in a week or two or a month. It's you have to be committed and, you know, be committed and do it. Be
Yeah,
persistent.
it's a mind. Yes, it's a mindset. You make a conscious decision that you want to make healthy choices. You make a, you make a conscious decision. You're either going to believe or you're not going to believe. There's no in between. Same thing like your body. You're going to make sure and you're going to have to know that you know that you know that this is something you want to do. And after you do it 21 times, it becomes a habit. So it's just like, if you eat something and you eat it every day, it's not going to take time. It's not going to be tomorrow. You can say, okay, I don't want it anymore. You start to find different foods that's going to replace it. Like, say, if you crave sugar, okay, well, God gave us fruit. So you eat the fruit, and that will take away the craving of your sugar. You don't have to eat a whole pound cake. You don't have to eat, a whole half a gallon of ice cream. As you grow, I'm not saying that it's a diet. See, I don't do diets. And I'm
Right.
going to tell you something. I used to be a size 22.
No.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes. So I don't do diets. I make healthy choices. I incorporate it into every day. And as it becomes a habit, it becomes your lifestyle. And the foods and stuff that you used to eat, you don't even want it anymore. And then once you do it, it gets to a point where, okay, maybe once a week or maybe once every 3 months. Like I may want a soda. I'm not saying I'm not going to drink soda because number one, the sugar is not good. That's a cancer. Now that's a whole nother subject. But there's certain foods you can still eat, but when you're on a regime, when you have a goal that you want to achieve, you have to eliminate. And then once you get into the point where you're in total alignment, then you can reintroduce some things. But by the time you do that, you may not even want it.
Very, very, very good. What do you want to say to the community about maintaining, one last word about maintaining healthy lifestyle, where they can connect with you if they need your services? Just to recap what you do and how they can connect with you.
Okay, well, most importantly, we have to thank these last few years, our unprecedented times, because if you, some people have this mindset that we notice that life is changing, And we also have noticed that it's time to take control of our own mental health, our own well being, and understand that just because you have these labels and numbers behind your name does not mean that they know everything about you. They don't sit at your table. They don't work out with you. They don't go to church with you. They don't come to your house and visit. They have no idea what you're thinking. And 9 times out of 10, they only have 30 minutes uh, to collaborate with you. So now it's imperative that people start taking becoming proactive in their own life. It's time
Advocates
for
for
them to,
themselves, yes. Be
yes,
their own
and to
self
learn.
advocates, yes.
Exactly. And to learn preventative measures so that if they do have to go to the hospital, um, it's for, I say this all the time, ABC, airway,
Breathe.
breathing, circulation, or cardiac. That's when you go to the hospital because now the numbers are still high because of COVID and you want to reduce the fact that you don't want to get contaminated yourself or exposed to yourself. So there are certain things you can do to help reduce or slow down disease or a disorder. So for me, I can help with that. You can call me if you have a question. I do give, if you're contemplating on membership, I do have memberships. You do get an hour free consultation. But if you don't, what better way to get in touch with me if you have a question? Because you definitely can't call your doctor and get the question answered. But for me, you can. And I'm 24/7. You can call me, you can text me, you can go to simplyjewel.com. You can fill out the upper right hand corner. There is a intake form, and I will get back in touch with you. If I take too long, you can text me and say, this is so and so. Please get in touch with me, and I will return your call within the hour. But I am here to serve the community. I am here to bring awareness. I am here to encourage, to support, to motivate, because that's what we need right now. And you can't get that at the doctor's office. But I am, not only is it me, but if we do big events, I have other chemists and other nurses on standby to accommodate. But you will get me, simplyjewel.com.
Listeners, you hear her, simplyjewel.com. Visit her on
Yeah.
her website, get in touch if you need her service, and tune in. She'll be back another time. So we're going to say goodbye now, and thank you for listening today. Bye bye.
Thank you for inviting
Thank you,
me. Bye
Jill.
bye.
Pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.